High School at 6 p.m. Ms. Haynes, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Vecchia?
Here.
Mr. Capabianco?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Here. This meeting will be recorded and may be televised live. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sorry. It's been moved.
Okay.
So we'll do it to the office.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you please remain standing, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the officers that were killed and wounded in Baton Rouge yesterday morning. Thank you. I just want to take a minute to say that the events that have happened in our country and in our own town in the last couple of weeks have been very disturbing. And I know as a school committee we're not, it is not our job to debate these issues, but I do think that we bridge public health and public safety. And if there is a way to weave into the curriculum at all grades, some sort of collaboration with the community and the police department and mental health workers in our community to really help students at all ages be safe and identify things in their environment that might not be safe and what to do in those situations. I would like to maybe consider a task force or some kind of collaboration beginning in September. Again, it's not on the agenda, and we don't have to talk about it tonight, but those are some of my thoughts. If anyone else would like to share some thoughts, I would allow it.
I think that's a great idea. 100% I agree with you. I'd love to be helpful with that.
Thank you, Mr. Capianco.
I would agree.
Sounds like a good idea.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we'll move on to public comments. Seeing no hands for public comment, we next have some delegates and visitors, and we are welcoming tonight 3 of our 4 principals. Very exciting. Mr. Curley, you're first under our delegates and visitors. Do you want to talk about why you're here? And
Sure, definitely. The past couple of months, put together and revised a middle school student-parent handbook. Working at the Cummings the past couple of years during transition, we were working under 2 different handbooks, and I realized over time that the previous handbook at the middle school probably needs some updates, changes of policies, things like that. We got into different rules and regulations, so I wanted to bring it in front of the school committee to review and hopefully to get approved or make some slight changes moving forward.
perfect. I think Mr. Perrin might be on his way. I'm just making sure we still have a quorum. Thanks, Brian. I actually did have a chance to take a look at it. It was a tremendous amount of work and very well done. I'm not as much of an editor as Mrs. Callis is, so if there's any things that spell check missed, she would have caught it. But I think you did a great job at outlining expectations and responsibilities of staff and students, and a nice guide for what parents can do in specific situations.
The one change we did make was we corrected the calendar, so the copy you probably have in front of you has different dates for ESPs when they come in, so that will be changed before it's put online and given to students. We'll be updating the front cover. That was a generic picture from construction. We have a picture of the middle school that will go on there as well, and we have made some different corrections regarding some typos since then.
How will this be delivered to students and parents?
Sure. So on the first day of school, students will receive their agenda book, and it'll cover pages 1 through 29, which basically covers the rules and regulations piece. And then online will be a full version of the 60 pages that includes the different bullying policies, things like that. Combination of so students don't carry these huge agenda books, but also we want to put more materials online for parents to access.
Awesome.
But we have a parent sign-off
Yes.
sheet, even though it's online, parent still has to sign off
Right.
that they know it's online, that they've read it, and that they viewed it, or at least that they signed off that it's there. And that's important through not only for us, but we need that for DESE as well. But that form will be sent home with each child.
Yes.
Got it. Is there anything special you'd like to highlight, or?
Just one of the new policies trying to implement is the homework zone policy, which I believe is on page
20.
20, in terms of like the last couple of years, just started noticing that you always have, a handful of students who traditionally struggle with homework. The homework zone is meant for if students aren't doing the homework, where it's a referral process where a teacher can notify parents, notify the student where they have to come into school either before or after school in order to complete their homework. So basically it's trying to put in a little safety net in place. So moving on from middle school to high school, you have less students who are not completing their homework. So that's probably the one major change that you see in the handbook.
Awesome. Any questions for Mr. Curley?
I have a question.
Yep.
Just like during the course of the year, is there any kind of a refresher on this with the parents? Because, year goes on, first half of the year, second half. Is there any need to kind of refresh parents' understanding of this during the course of the year?
Sure. As the year goes on, we'll have a couple open houses in terms of, parent-teacher conferences where we can structure or schedule some time in there where when some parents are meeting with teachers, they can sit down and meet with me to kind of go over some of the areas in the handbooks that they might be confused on or weren't aware of different policies. So that'd be a good opportunity during the course of the year to do that.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I think it's important that the students, this is their law, their book, so therefore, if something happens in a discipline code that they break, usually they're able to look at the handbook and see clearly what that offense was and what the penalty is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important for parents to see. And whenever you have a case that comes forward, maybe a harassment case or a civil rights case or various cases that may happen, the first thing that has to happen is, where is the issue in the handbook is the question. So I think Mr. Curley did a wonderful job revising this.
I agree. I think, there's things in here that we wouldn't have necessarily thought of putting in here 10, 15 years ago with the cell phone use and, even dress code and the cyberbullying. And so it absolutely needed an update, and I appreciate it. It must have taken a lot of time and thought, so thank you. Anything else from Mr. Curley? Anything else you want to say? Good?
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate
Very
it.
nice
Thank you.
job.
When would that be online, like the first week of school or right before school starts?
Probably the first week of school.
Do we need to refer this to
I would-
policy?
You can, or you can just approve it, that you've adopted his handbook
Okay.
at this point. And I mean, for purposes, because of the school years coming through, it would be easy for you to adopt it. And you can still send in, if they want to make any revisions down the road, we can do that for next year as we go along. But
Yeah.
I think it would be best if you adopted it.
I agree. I think with our summer schedule being a little less frequent meeting,
Right.
people being on vacation, we probably should approve
And
it.
also, there's one other thing before it does go to approval,
Sure.
is regarding school IDs. When this was first created, we weren't sure between the middle school and high school how that was being set up, but there will be an addition in there regarding that all students will have to wear their IDs. And if they have to get it replaced, there'll be a $5 charge, just so you are aware that that will be in there as well. And a special thanks to the transition committee who helped work on this handbook, especially that behavior rubric that you see in there.
Tell me about the IDs. The students will wear them all day long at school?
Yep, basically we'll provide them with lanyards.
Mhm.
So between middle school and high school, so we understand what students belong in the building and what side, so in terms of a safety feature. So that way we
Sure.
know who belongs in what side of the building and so on.
Right, gotcha. So I'll make a motion to approve the new student parent handbook 2016-2017 for the Winthrop Middle School with the addition of the ID policy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vecchia. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously passes. Thank you.
So the IDs will be color-coded, whether they're in the high school or the middle school?
And I think we're looking to have them grade coded too,
Mm.
right? So the sixth grade would be different than seventh and then eighth grade. We can have that done, so we want to
Yeah.
make sure with Life Touch that we do that. Just makes it easier.
Sure, yeah, I think it's probably hard to tell the difference between,
And you may want to do
Some of
that
the
at the high
grades.
school level as well, 9 through 12. It's just, because each year they get a new ID anyway, and you want it to be a photo, so.
all right. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Crombie for the high school parent-student handbook.
So this year, what we did was, we only made some minor changes to our current handbook, and the changes mainly came underneath our disciplinary guidelines. Some things that we added or changed were basically our handbook committee thought was necessary based on the fact that we're moving to a new building. So to start, we moved our destruction of school property. We made that a level 4 offense, which is, I'm sorry, a level 3 offense when it used to be a level 1 offense in the old handbook. You know, when we move into the new building, obviously keeping the building in good shape, in good condition, and having the students respect that property is big for us. So we kind of wanted to kind of raise the stakes a little bit on vandalism and destruction of school property. We put in there a ban on electronic cigarettes and vaping in school, which is something we didn't have. Definitely something that we needed to update. You know, if you looked at our handbook the way it was written last year, it didn't have anything in there about that. So as that becomes more and more prevalent in schools, unfortunately, we want to make sure that we can enforce consequences for students on that. We added a section in there about technology and social media. That's all already part of our disciplinary guidelines, but we just added an extra section on page 7 that just says any inappropriate usage of electronic device by Winthrop High School students will be subject to disciplinary action. Examples include, and not limited to, text messaging, picture messaging, video recording, posts on various social medias during the school day in Winthrop High School. So we wanted to make sure that that was kind of spelled out pretty clear because, you know, we face those issues on a daily basis, you know, in high school. So those are the biggies. And the last one, we added to our level 1 offense would be entering the middle school side of the building. So we kind of wanted to make it clear to our students, you know, that they belong on the high school side. High school students unfortunately have a tendency to wander, and so we want to make sure that you know, right from the get-go, they're understanding the difference between the high school and the middle school, places where they can and can't go, and we want to make sure that that's spelled out clearly in our handbook. So those are the changes we made to our handbook in regards to the disciplinary guidelines.
I was just looking for that time that I was telling you about earlier, but I don't see it offhand. Again, excellent job, and thank you so much for your work and effort to put this together. I think I saw the hazing paragraph in the middle school, also in the high school, and I just wanted to, you know, bring people's attention to, it's page 8 in the high school handbook, but the questions that you have here, like to help a student understand if it's hazing or not, would you have reservations describing this activity to your parents or teacher? Would you object to the activity being photographed? Like, these are great questions, like as a parent to say, let me help you figure out if this is hazing or if this is wrong, or, you know, if this is some kind of activity you shouldn't be engaged in. So that definitely stood out to me when I was reading it, and as a way to, you know, talk to a child about, you know, what's right and wrong, because I feel like there's so much gray these days. But again, great job. I don't really have anything more. You guys covered it, you know, what to do in almost every situation I could have thought of. Any other questions or feedback?
A question that I have, like, just in general, like there's a lot of great material in here. Some of it gets a little technical, and you know, like how are the students like educated about this information? Like, is there some activity that happens that tries to make them understand what all this is about? Because there's a lot in here.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing 2 different things this year going forward. We spend a significant amount of time on the first day of school in homeroom. You know, just like Mr. Curley said, similar to the middle school, the handbook is in the front, the first 40 pages of the agenda book that every student gets on the first day of school. The homeroom teachers will spend that time going through and highlighting areas that students need to be paying attention to. Certainly the disciplinary code, stuff around attendance and grading policies, the biggies. But this year, through our with our scheduling, we scheduled an advisory block, which we're going to be used for implementing our Olveus bullying program. But part of those blocks, which is built into kind of like the curriculum of the Olveus program, is to constantly be reinforcing and working with students on what's in the handbook. And it's not just specific to discipline. It's basically, the handbook is, in a lot of ways, sets the culture in the building and really puts out the expectations. So that's like an ongoing thing that happens throughout the school year.
Good, thanks.
I was thinking the same thing, Mr. Crombie, that this is just a foundation for the culture that we're building, and being respectful and safe, and education is the priority, but also social, emotional needs of our students is important too. And when parents have time, please sit down and read all 60-ish pages, because it's really worth it, and these guys worked really hard, and it's worth your time to really participate in the culture we're building here. Anything else, Mr. Crombie? Thank you. So I will make a motion. Is this the one you handed us tonight? Is the final copy? So
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Winthrop High School Parent-Teacher Handbook 2016-2017. Is there a second?
No, second.
Second by President Driscoll. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously passes. Thank you. So we put you guys at the top of the agenda, so you didn't have to hang out.
But they want to watch the math.
But they want to see
I
the
know they
map,
want to
yeah.
support Mr. Harity and Mr. Kirby for their math. Right.
So next we have a couple of meeting minutes to approve, and we're going to approve them separately because there were different mixes of people attending, well, actually, maybe not. So the minutes for June 20th, 2016 were in our packet. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Capabianco. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vecchia. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The minutes for July 11th, 2016. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Sorry.
Second by Mr. Vecchia. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. The minutes are approved. Thank you.
That's the one she stapled on top.
Next, we have financial business procedures, the warrants, which are dated 7/20/2016. The warrant SVW 17-1 for $62,754.48.
Cell phone policy?
I know. Mr. Woods. All right, so I'm going to say that again. SVW 17-1 for $62,754.48. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Vecchia. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Capabianco. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. We have another warrant. Oh, it's the same
Yeah,
SVW
I think there was-
17-1.
And there's no budget transfer, so, sorry, that was on the agenda, but,
Well, what I have here is different than what I have here.
okay.
Wait a minute. Oh, I just have 3 copies of this.
Those are the signature pages,
Right. I just gonna read. Okay. So the next one is payroll, dated
Right.
June 15, 2016, in the amount of $639,816.04. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Capabianco. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. Another payroll warrant dated June 29, 2016, in the amount of $111,494.39. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Capabianco. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. And then lump sum payroll dated June 22nd, 2016, in the amount of $2,392,219.93. I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Vecchia. All in favor say aye. Oh, discussion? And No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes unanimously, thank you. Okay. Next we have buildings and grounds request for the Winthrop girls soccer team car wash. Let me find out when that is, so we can say it, buildings and grounds.
27th of August,
22nd of August?
27th,
27th of August?
and 28th.
And 28th of August?
It's just a rain date.
And what's the location?
It's at the Cummings School.
Should be the Cummings,
At the Cummings School Circle?
Mhm.
And does it say the times there, 8 AM?
Says 9 to 12.
9 to 12? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Vecchia, second by Mr. Capabianco. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Harity and Mr. Kirby from the MAP Committee under curriculum. It's all yours.
A little sparse over here with equipment, so we're gonna move a couple slides to project us. Thinking maybe that wall over there might be the best for,
Can you see that one?
Sure.
but do you need me to move?
Thank you.
Who wants to move?
Mr. Vecchia, you might want to
You guys
move that,
wanna-
just so you can see this current, if we have plugs up here.
On the other side.
Right, is there one right there?
I'm prepared.
Sorry about that.
Is, Ms. Sullivan, do you know if Mr. Perrin is coming?
I'm just texting now. He said he is on his way.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that at 7 o'clock we have 4 to vote on something. If, you know.
Oh, okay. If you wanted to move it up, you could. Okay. It's only 25 after.
Right. You don't know how long Mr. Harry can talk.
It's only 100 slides.
I'm gonna have a lot of math questions too.
Good.
When are you gonna cut down half the lights or?
We might want it.
There you go.
That's fine.
All right. So, can everyone see that okay?
Yeah. Do you wanna sit here? Pass those along.
This works.
Looks like Johnny Carson did right there over there.
Okay. All right. We're using our Google Slides to present tonight. Really showcasing our Google skills here. So thank you for hearing us tonight. This year, starting in February, we formed a math committee. We realized, starting at the beginning of the year, we got back some data, and we knew from our own observations and our own work with kids that as the kids progressed through the schools, they weren't making the gains that we wanted to see in math at certain levels, and just their overall understanding and the implementation of the Common Core standards and the tests becoming more and more rigorous, and our kids, just their overall expectations being raised. We said, you know what, we need to figure out how to get our kids where we need them to be. And as a central district leadership team, we said, let's start taking some action towards this. We spent a lot of time in the last 5 years working on literacy and implementing RTI and getting the reading levels up close to where we need them to be. Now let's take a look at the math and the overall understanding so that we have a little more balance in the district on those subject areas. So we formed the Winthrop Math Committee. So the purpose was to collaboratively research and identify ways to improve student learning outcomes related to mathematics. So these are the teachers that volunteered their time, teachers, administrators. We had Laura Callis from the school committee who also volunteered her time to come sit with her math background and talk about math. We started meeting in February once a month, and we just ended our last meeting in June. So the reason that I asked Mr. Massaro if we could share this with you today is because teachers have a little bit more time over the summer, even though most teachers I know are working, but teachers do have a little bit more time to read. And so we thought, you know what, if we have an opportunity to share this document with them, share all the research, everything that we found, collected, discussed over the summer, then teachers will have a little bit of time to prepare for the upcoming year and have a good idea of what the findings were. So the committee conducted a research review utilizing 2 articles that were targeted towards instruction and curriculum, and then we hired a consulting firm, Looney Math Consulting. I'm sure you remember hearing a little bit about them. The name's hard to forget. And then each principal and Mr. Beck from the from the high school math department designed an action plan to say, okay, what steps are we going to take to make sure that our kids have what they need, the resources that they need, and let's start putting these things into place and not waste any time. So Mr. Kirby is our co-chair on the committee. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe one of the articles? And
Sure. First of all, it was a great opportunity to meet with teachers K to 12 and to talk real math issues. And it was eye-opening for me as a teacher, I think others on the committee, to gain perspective on the challenges of teaching math at the different levels. And as a longtime teacher, there was always this kind of bias of young teachers of younger students are afraid of math and that they don't have necessarily expertise in math. And the great part of being on this committee was that is so not true. That's like an old-time bias. I found people to be quite knowledgeable and passionate about math. And we had some very rich discussions about how we can help kids learn math and be willing to take risks in mathematics. One of the articles we read was Accessible Mathematics, 10 Instructional Shifts That Raise Student Achievement. And this really led to a rich discussion of how to implement change in the classroom. So I thought that was excellent. Let me just click it.
Sure. Yeah. So, and then the next article that we took a look at was an article that was just recently released in February, and that was published by the Harvard Policy for Educational Research. And we liked that article because we were looking at a couple other ones, but this one specifically referenced Go Math, our curriculum that we have in place. And we've had so many conversations about, is Go Math the right program for us? Is there something better out there? Is this something that we should be looking hard at? Is that why our students aren't making the progress that they should be making? Is it Go Math or is it something else? So this article had just finished reviewing all the different math programs and reviewing Go Math specifically. So we had some good research there. And the instructional article, we said, okay, so we're looking at instruction and we're looking at our programs So those are the two most important components. And then what we found from our research articles was that consistent language and vocabulary must be communicated across the district. Factors associated with school improvement, more time for professional development, specificity of feedback from classroom observations, and inclusion of Common Core aligned assessments and teacher evaluations. So when expectations are raised, more time must be provided for teachers to plan, collaborate, and assess student work.
We also found that Go Math was the only math book that really had a correlation between student achievement and test scores, so we feel strongly that's a good program. We are hoping to implement more mathematic instruction, more math focus along with our literature focus in the younger grades. And really focus on the critical broad areas in the Common Core that need to be the focus of instruction and not get bogged down in every single detail, but to make sure that we cover the most important concepts the kids need to advance in math.
So Looney Math Consulting, the way that we found Looney Math Consulting, we were meeting as a district administrative team, and we had been doing some research over the past year on different consultants, and a couple of central leaders said, you know, have you heard of this company, Looney Math Consulting? They had worked with Duxbury and published a really nice math report, and they sound like they're very knowledgeable. They have really strong background. The owner of the company is very hands-on, does a lot of professional development herself. This might be a consultant that we should take a look at to help us out with some of these things. So we went down to Quincy. Mr. Woods went down. I went down. Ms. Pearson went down, and Jen O'Connell went down, and we took a hard look at the professional development she was actually doing with teachers, and we said this is exactly what we want to bring back to Winthrop, and for our teachers to say this is great. All the teachers, we talked to them down there, and they all felt strongly that she was doing a really nice job and well worth the money that we pay as a consultant fee. So what she did is she came in, and with her partner Heidi, they came in and they did a needs analysis. So they started at the kindergarten level, and they went through the Fort Banks, and they spent about 45 minutes in each classroom, and they looked at math instruction. Then they came to the Cummings School. They went through our classrooms, and they looked at our math instruction. And that included the middle school teachers. And then they went up to the high school, and they looked at 8 through 12 math instruction, and they came back and they wrote a summary of findings. So in the report that we passed out to you is the Looney report that details, we're not going to go into the full detail of that, we're just going to kind of cover the bullets. But when you go into that report, you'll see, she's very explicit about the things that she saw in all of those classrooms and the recommendations that she feels that we need to make, that we need to take seriously as a district.
So Looney did have some recommendations district-wide. They recommended that we create a standards-based curriculum map, that we implement a formalized RTI model in mathematics, and review how time is used for both teacher planning and collaboration. Specifically at Winthrop Banks Elementary School, they recommended getting additional support staff to strengthen coordination of math instruction and student performance, provide professional development to all staff who teach math, ensure math instruction is at least 75 minutes a day, and then move to a more guided math format for math instruction.
So I recognize there's a couple new school committee members, and so just taking a quick second to explain what RTI is and what the guided math model is, would that be helpful for you guys? Okay. So basically RTI is response to intervention, and what that means is if you take a class, the way that a lot of times we learned as kids was we're all in rows and someone just taught us the lesson, and they said, listen, this is what we're learning today in math. You're going to learn how to add fractions. And I'm going to teach you one way, and everyone's going to get it that way. And if you don't get it, then I don't know what to tell you. I guess I might be able to spend some more time with you. I might not be able to. It depends. I got 25, 30 kids in this class, and we all just got to figure it out. You're either good at math or you're not good at math. So, that's kind of where we're at. So the RTI model flips that and says it's my responsibility as an educator to make sure that all the students in my class reach these proficiency standards. And so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to teach a whole group lesson, and then I'm going to break my kids down into different groups and group them based on their proficiency levels. So these students over here might really be struggling with that particular standard. These students over here might get it like this. So we don't want to spend another 45 minutes teaching these students that already have it. These students over here are kind of in the middle. So as a teacher, I split my kids into 3 groups, and I'm planning in advance, knowing that I'm most likely going to have 3 groups of students, and I'm going to rotate those students through groups and spend as much personal time as I can with those students. Now, what that requires is a lot more intervention, so that's why we are always screaming and trying to get as many ESPs as we can, because that's when the ESPs really come into place, and you really see some great work from them, because they can come in, and when you have talented ESPs, they come into your classroom, and we train them in math instruction, we train them in how to teach. A lot of them are certified teachers. They'll come in and support our teachers, so that if we have this group of students goes with the ESP, this group of students is with the teacher, these students over here are working on the Chromebooks, and then 30 minutes we switch, or 20 minutes we switch, and we work those kids through the classroom. And when you do that, anytime you take the number from 25 down to 6 or 8 students and you provide them with that direct instruction, you're going to see results go up. So that's the RTI model in a nutshell.
I had the opportunity to pilot the guided model in grade 6, and it was really effective. The classes flew, the kids enjoyed it, they were all engaged. And the challenge and the fun part of it is trying to meet the needs of each kid as individuals as you rotate through the groups, rather than talking to that group of 25 or 30 and sink or swim to get out of your dome. It really allowed much more time to explore topics with individual students.
It's been a very effective tool for ELA, so obviously it would be even more effective for math. So now we're trying to build that into the math as well.
So at the Cummings School, that we have Dawn Lettieri going into that was our recommendation. We have the math coach, create a math coach position, provide PD, and look at our curriculum maps.
Sorry, that's not where I took us.
Go ahead.
The recommendations for the middle school are to ensure that math classes are a minimum of 60 minutes a day, designate specific special education teachers as experts in mathematics, provide professional development in differentiated instruction and centers-based learning, and create a middle school department chair. So I think in spirit, I think we're addressing these recommendations. Budget-wise, it doesn't all quite work out specifically. Like our classes are 55 minutes, the way Mr. Curley has set up the schedule. So I think that's awesome. I think it's a great time for middle school. Definitely moving toward more professional development in math, and that center-based learning is kind of our way of talking about that guided model, that differentiated learning in groups in class. And the middle school is going back to having instructional leaders, grades 6 to 8 in the academic areas.
Okay. So the high school, the recommendations were to provide a Common Core, so basically a textbook. So they need a textbook or some sort of resource that's aligned to the Common Core standards. They need technology training for teachers, according to Looney. They'd like the high school to assemble a team to analyze the high failure rate of Algebra 1 students and provide professional development in differentiated instruction. So differentiated instruction meeting the needs of each individual student in your classroom. And also student engagement and increasing rigor.
Did I skip the final slide?
No, so these are the...
Oh, okay.
So these are directly from Mrs. Pearson and her recommendations that she shared with us. So she got right on this, and she started training her teachers. On June 22nd and June 23rd, her teachers completed a make and take session. And what that entails is basically the teachers come in, they worked with Mrs. Looney And in that session, they were able to take materials home with them that they could actually use in their classroom when they come back in September. So that was a real good use of time that the teachers tend to like a lot. Also, she has August PD planned, which is focused on rigor in the math classroom. October PD planned on unpacking, understanding the Common Core standards. November is on implementing mini lessons. December is planned to focus on story problems. And April, she's planning to focus on conceptual versus computational strategies. So going from just the rote work of a worksheet to really talking, a lot more dialogue in the math classroom, really truly understanding the math as opposed to just checking off that you did that worksheet. And then at the ATC, we're adjusting our scope and sequence. We have our math lead teachers coming in at the end of August, and Mr. Woods, hiding back there, actually has helped us out with a lot of that. He took a hard look at our curriculum maps this year for math and has provided us with a lot of really strong examples of districts around the country and what they're doing. So we're going to take those maps and kind of use them as our guide as we start in August. So starting in September, we'll have curriculum maps for the whole year. And then RTI, we talked about that. And then professional development, we have professional development planned throughout the year. So when we implement RTI, it's going to take a lot of teacher support to make sure that it's successful. We can't just say to our teachers, okay, this is what we want you to do. Split your students into 3 groups and do this. They're going to need a lot of support from us to make sure that they can be successful. And we'll need a lot of resources and, our help, so. And then teacher collaboration, they're going to meet once a week with Mrs. Lettieri, and the math coach position. Last year she was half math coach, half reading literacy specialist. This year we have 2 literacy specialists and we have a math coach, so that should help us out a lot.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the middle school, Mr. Curley was able to get us a schedule with a 55-minute class period, but also all of grade 6 will have Chrome math as an extra subject. And I can't tell you how excited the teachers are with our Chromebook initiative. It's just going to be awesome, and all the students will have their own Chromebook to use in class, and we'll be able to explore programs like 10 Marks and websites like Buzz Math. It's a game changer for the classroom, and we're very excited about that. Scholastic Math Inventory Assessment will be introduced in grade 6 through 8, and it's going to give us data to see how best we can help our students. We will be focusing on that guided math model and differentiated groups to try to help kids progress in math. And there'll be a lead teacher in math assigned for grades 6 to 8. I'm not sure who that would be.
Mr. Kirby has accepted that role as the lead math teacher at the middle school.
Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or?
I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I think with the new building and all the added technology, so a lot of the things that that Mr. Harity and staff at the ATC have done for grades 4 through 7, we're continuing that going for grades 6 through 8. We hope to continue that at the high school level as well. So,
the Chromebooks will be a huge advantage for your center-based learning, because you'll be able to have kids working in those areas just individually almost, as well as grouping.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then this was directly from Mr. Beck, who is the math lead up at the high school. So he took the recommendations based on Looney, and he wrote a response and action steps that you can read in the back of the report there. And he, said that he's working closely with Mr. Woods and Ms. Callis to identify new textbooks that are aligned with the standards. They're going to be exploring those soon. And Mr. Crombie is planning a technology training for the teachers coming into the school. I know I talked with him about that the other day, and making sure that teachers are ready on the first day of school for the Google Apps initiative. And analyzing the data, Mr. Beck felt strongly that students were not prepared when they come in, and that was the root cause of the high failure rate. So, he said he would be 100% interested in taking a harder look at that data. And also high-quality PD, they said, is always welcome at the high school. So in summary, there's a lot of work ahead, but it's an exciting time to be in our district right now. We have some wonderful schools. We have teachers that are working extremely hard, and we're starting to build a lot of momentum. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing along the way about how things are going and the things that we've accomplished.
Awesome, thank you.
That's it.
Any questions for?
Maybe just, so this is really comprehensive. I think it addresses a problem that was identified. How and when do you kind of determine the success of this initiative? Is it just this next round of scores on tests, or is it something else? Or
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So how do you look back in a timely fashion and decide whether or not you're making the progress that you need to make? So what we use, Mr. Kirby just referenced it, is Scholastic Math Inventory. So when we walk in to the park or the MCAS, we already know pretty much how we're going to perform.
Yeah.
And that's because we have our own internal assessments that we use. So our internal assessments include SMI, and we just started that last year. So when students come in the first week of school, they'll take their SMI test. And what that does is it measures their fluency, and then it's computer adaptive. So what that means is as you get a question right, it becomes more difficult. As you get a question wrong, it becomes easier. So at the very end, it kind of pops out this number, and it tells you, okay, you have a quantile level of 734. The national mean is 722. So you're right about average. Now you might have a 934. So what that does is the teachers immediately at the beginning of the year have a nice little snapshot of the students, where they're at, and what standards they might need backfilling in, and what standards they might already have mastered. So that way, when they're breaking up their classes, they can kind of split the students up by that.
In literature, students got very familiar with their lexile, their reading level, and they could choose novels appropriately or discuss with their teacher. I'd really like to take a higher lexile and be challenged. And they're very comfortable with the process. We're hoping the same thing happens in mathematics. There's so much fear about math that we want the kids to understand that it's about your growth in math. You start where, in September where you are, and you're going to grow and learn and improve, and we want to show them that that's good, that's what we're here for. So it's really focusing on a growth model, and the SMI provides the data for them.
sounds good.
And we also give those reports to parents. So you probably, Ms. Olin, you probably saw it at the end of the year in the report cards. We print those off and we give them to parents, so parents can really see, as opposed to waiting 6 months to get the test results back. They can see, where does my student fall on the curve.
We don't want it to be about the park or the MCAS, that,
Also, it's
where it's at. It's about where you started and where you completed.
Yeah, and how
to
you
show
grow.
the growth.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to be about.
Great, that's good, thank you.
I wanted to ask about the formalized RTI. Have we not been doing RTI in math during this current year, or the year that we just finished?
We were.
We were. So how will it look different when you say formalized RTI? I saw that on one of the slides.
Yeah, so that was a Looney recommendation. She said formalized RTI, and I think what she means by that is setting more clear expectations at the beginning of the year and saying, because this year we started to implement it and we started to roll it out, but there weren't there weren't extremely explicit requirements to the RTI model in each classroom. So
I would suggest that the formalized RTI for ELA, you could go in right now and they would pull out a schedule and show you boom, 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 how this is going to work, who the teacher is, who that is. And I think what they want to see there is they're doing the same exact thing for math at all of the schools, not just one school or here or there, or, well, let's try it here and see how it works in this grade level as a test. They're saying formalize it, do it, make it part of your daily routine.
And then for the elementary school, they were recommending 75 minutes a day. Would that be like 2 separate sessions, or 75 minutes in a row seems like a decent amount of time?
We actually did 90 last
You did?
year. Yeah.
Even for like the Fort Bank school?
I'm surprised she said 75, because 90 is usually the average. You break it up, you can break it up
That's what I was
into
wondering, is it
multiple
more
ways
like-
throughout, but sometimes they'll do like a full 20-minute session, and then they'll have groupings where they're working on things for 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I think 75 probably fits some of the scheduling aspects down at the Fort Bend School. But if you were doing 90, I would prefer us to stay at 90.
I think she was saying that's the bare minimum, that you have to have
Right.
75.
Okay. I was more asking, would it be a block of 75 minutes or broken up during the day, or depends on?
So we did it both ways. My first year at the ATC, we broke it up. We did 30 minutes, and then they had lunch, and then they had math, and then they had another hour of math after that. And the teachers hated it because they said they just lost momentum, and the kids came back, and there was so much transitional time, and they really wanted that big chunk of time with the kids. It surprisingly goes by very quickly. When you're doing a lot of hands-on activities, and you're using the technology, and you're doing everything you need to do, it goes by like that. So.
Any other questions? Mr. Ryan? Thank you so much for your presentation, your effort, and
All right, thank you.
one thing I liked about what you said about this committee was that it ended in June, so it's not like sort of these lingering committees where, oh, we'll take care of it next meeting. It's like you had an end date, and now you're gonna get into action. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty. Mr. Macero, do you have a
Yes.
superintendent's report for us?
One of the things I'd like to just say too on the map, when you look at the membership of that committee, I mean, having
I
a school
know,
committee
super
member on it as
impressive,
well
yeah.
is who happens to have that expertise. So we were very fortunate on that, so I appreciate Laura
Right.
Haynes, helping.
Hang on one second.
yeah.
Mr. President, you said you have to go?
I do.
Is this a good time for you to go?
It is,
Okay.
trying to get rid of me?
No, but I
I'll leave
figured
then. No.
it's a good break in the meeting if you want to
Sorry.
It's okay.
take off. I know
You
you'll
and I
be
can touch-
watching the meeting on YouTube later this week.
I hope it's on later tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Sorry, I didn't move you like that.
It's all right.
Okay.
All right.
So I will be brief, but I have a few little items I'd like to just go over. First of all, we are continuing the move. When you hear FF&E, that is a huge extra furniture and equipment. Those are all coming in on a rapid basis now at the new high school, middle school. Daily, we have desks and cafeteria tables and all kinds of goodies are coming into the building. And we hope that majority of these supplies and furniture will be in by the end of this month. We have yet to turn on the phone at the high school, middle school. We are able to do so, but the plan is to let us finish the summer school program here, and then as of August 8th, we will turn the phones on over at the high school, middle school. Currently, right now at the high school, middle school, they are also working very much on the infrastructure of the technology aspect, the Wi-Fi and all of that. So some of our folks who are over there aren't getting much service right now on that, so they're trying to do the best we can. We're trying to put together some, like a mock-up, just to get them through while they finish putting up the infrastructure. But everything is moving along very well, and we're very excited about it. I don't know, have we met since we had the tour? Since we had the event? No.
Well, last Monday. but-
Right, but on July 2nd, as you know, we had the event at the high school, middle school, the Viking Pride event, and we toured over 500 people through the building. And it was just a great, great event. People were very supportive of the building. They liked what they were seeing. They enjoyed the evening. And I want to remind everybody once again, though, September 22nd, we will be having a huge grand opening for the community. That's school will have already been in session, but we'll have a dedication evening that night. And we do know that the Secretary of State Secretary is planning on attending. The Speaker of the House will be there. We even may have our U.S. Congresswoman there as well, and we have invited the governor. So
So it could be a very fun evening. Last week I was down in Falmouth for the superintendent's annual conference. This year, the whole conference based on social and emotional education. We're kind of moving back, and I'm very happy to see that. One of our keynote speakers was Mr. Suskind, and Mr. Suskind's son, Owen, this week just opened a movie up on Friday, which my wife and I went to go see it on Saturday night because I was so impressed with his speech. Mr. Suskind was our keynote speaker, who's a Wall Street, works for the Wall Street Journal, and was a Pulitzer Prize winner. But one of his sons, when he was 3 years old, at one point was doing very well with vocabulary, and then all of a sudden went backwards and was diagnosed at that time with autism. And if you listen to his story talking about it, they didn't know how to handle it, they didn't want to handle it, but they could not communicate at all with their son. And one of the ways, though, that they found to communicate with their son was through, believe it or not, Disney movies. Their son was totally enthralled in those movies, and for the longest time would communicate with his parents by saying, "Juicifit, Juicifit, Juicifit." And they thought he wanted juice, and they would bring him juice, and he didn't want juice. And a lot of times, autism students, they will mumble, and they can't get out their words. And so they become very frustrated. It wasn't until they were watching, as the speaker said, The Little Mermaid for the 220th time, because that was the only thing they could do as a family. All of a sudden, his wife said, "Stop, keep rewinding it." And it was just your voice, just your voice. She's saying to him, "Just your voice." And he said to his child, "Are you saying just your voice?" And the child was trying to express, "Yes, I want that voice." And it was at that point that they realized that, geez, maybe there's a way to communicate through. And doctors still at that point weren't sure. This was back in the early 90s. And finally, at one point, the father realized that he had seen his son watching all of these movies, and at one point recited this whole line saying his older brother was kind of depressed or something outside, and all of a sudden he went over to his father, who hasn't spoken 3 years, and said, "Oh, it's like Peter Pan, he doesn't want to grow up." And they were like, "What?" And so they realized at that point he would talk. So he communicated through the Disney movies, and it was just a really wonderful presentation that he did. But the movie itself is fantastic. I went and saw the documentary. It's called Life Animated. And Owen is now 23 years old, and he's grown up, and it's really all about him and how he communicated all his expressions through, and his concerns and growing up, and all the different things that we go through in growing up through puberty and all that, how he incorporated learning it all through Disney. But the real point about it is that you can't give up, and a test score doesn't mean your life. And it's all about the social and emotional part of our students too. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that presentation, and very powerful to hear. The next day it was a lot about the arts and how the arts will make a stronger student, an academic student. Well, obviously, someone who's been in the arts, I fully believe that. And we've kind of been, the education, when they went into this whole direction about the testing, kind of short-sighted that area. But now they're realizing that, music and drama and art and visual and all of those things help the brain, from the right side and the left side, so that students have the ability to think more creative, to think more critical thinking and all of that. So we're kind of in the educational world kind of coming back again and realizing that the emotional and social is very important for the whole child. And so that was a very good conference. We will continue. But one thing that they did state that I thought was interesting, a couple of things. One was that Massachusetts this past year, I've said it before to you all, but if it was his own country, it has surpassed Finland and Singapore in scoring.
Wow.
Okay,
That's
so
pretty
Massachusetts
impressive.
does pretty well when you think about it, but we are tied into the whole country.
And I do not want to build a wall around us. I want to keep us moving forward. So, but it's also important to educate the heart, not just the mind. So, I had a question for you, if at all possible. The next school committee meeting is scheduled on August 1st. I was going to ask if there's any possibility we could move that to Wednesday, August 3rd. Unfortunately, I did not realize when we were putting that together that I had a personal commitment scheduled that evening. And so I just thought I'll throw it out there to see if there's any possibility of that Wednesday evening.
You have to vote on that?
Any objection to that?
No, you don't have to vote on it, do we?
I think it's okay with the members present,
Yeah.
and we did check with President Driscoll before the meeting started, and it sounded fine.
Okay.
So our next school committee will not be August 1st, it will
It'll
be August 3rd.
Right.
And Ms. Hames, if you'll send out a revised schedule by
Yes.
email
Yes, I will.
tomorrow morning to the members, that would be great. Thank you.
Tonight, I also, I know we've had so much stuff going on with the transition of the new school building, but it was my responsibility to make sure that I gave you the summative part of my goals. At one point, I gave you the formative, where I was halfway. So I have given you a copy, and it's in each goal, and it talks about, there's the formative part where I was mid-year, and then there's where I achieved on the goal, summative at the end of the year. So I have that, given that for you for your review. I would like to present my goals for the 2016-17 school year on the August 29th meeting. And that way, because we do have our August 8th through 10th leadership retreat, and I'd like to get us all on the same page of which way we're moving towards as a district. And you can imagine math will be right there as well, and a lot of the technology. So, but I wanted you to have that for your review. That's all I have right now as far as, oh, I'm sorry, no, I had one other item there. You will notice that tonight you got a report that we tried to get earlier so that it could have gone out in the packet, but it's in regards to the playgrounds. And I'm looking for it back here again. The coming school playground is in some dire need to be repaired, and so we are going to be working with Mr. Driscoll, Mr. Safuni, as well as the woman who came out and did the report on certain equipment pieces that we need to replace. We have no problem replacing those pieces of equipment. We did, as you know, in the capital improvement, we had listed the resurfacing of the playground is listed as part of a capital improvement that should be coming up. It was supposed to come up last year, but we moved it towards the new playground over at the William P. Gorman School. So that playground certainly needs a little support, and we're going to give that support to it, and we'll move on that as quickly as
What do you have, an outside firm that comes in and analyzes?
We have a state inspector that Mr. Driscoll from Parks and Recs brings in to look at all the parks. And so normally in the past, they used to just look at all the parks with the exception of the schools. And so we asked them to be part of, if we could be part of that, and they did. And so that's one right now. And that park has gotten beaten up through the years. We've had some issues with, some students deteriorating things, but fortunately now we don't have the students hanging over there as much, the old students. But we do need to make the repairs. We have budgeted some monies for that at the Arthur T. Cummings, but I'm sure I'm probably going to need to put in a little extra money on some of these areas, and it's time to take care of it. So,
Go ahead.
Will those repairs be completed before the school year?
if people give me the issues on, if I finally got the report today, I have no problem as long as they tell me what pieces need to be replaced. Yes, the surface probably not. That won't come out until they get the free cash. So the surface may not be completed until sometime in the spring, unless they can do it in the winter, but that usually causes issues on it. But I think, I can tell you right now that I've seen pieces there that I've said, that needs to be replaced, we should move this stuff. So, we'll be on that.
Okay. Just going back to the superintendent goals, there's a superintendent evaluation subcommittee, Mr. Vecchia, I think you're on or chair of, and we can work together at getting each of the members of the committee has to fill out their own evaluation of the superintendent, and then we'll get together and kind of compile and review it.
Okay.
It's a long process. A lot of the paperwork is DESE stuff that's a little cumbersome, but. Okay, on to personnel.
Yes, I'm just trying to. I'm gonna look for my letters that I have. So on personnel, we did have a couple of resignations. Fortunately, this time of year, these things happen to us because people get other jobs from different communities. But we did have Bridget Dolea from the Winthrop High School. She was the middle school 8th grade phys ed teacher. She has resigned her position. She's going to be teaching, I guess, in a closer area to her. So we have posted that position. We also have had, I explained to you at the last time that Mr. Campbell, this is his official letter on physics, that position has been posted. We have another position of Mr. Sherwin. Mr. Sherwin, our music teacher, has decided to, if you know Mr. Sherwin, you knew he grew up in the King Phillips regional area, and he was a student there, and he has, for a long time, his mentor is his high school music teacher at the school of the King Phillips. And that's where our band has gone down to play in the MICA competitions the last couple of years. But Mr. Sherwin has decided there was an opportunity there for him to go teach, and he's closer to home, and he has decided to take that position. So we were, of course, extremely disappointed from our standpoint, but the program, he has established a strong music band instrumental program for us. He did everything I asked him to do when he came in for the Winthrop Public Schools. Now, the important thing is that we continue that program. We have posted that position. We have multiple people that are very interested in that. He's done a lot of the hard work, because now someone gets to come in there and keep it going and really move it forward on that. Because we are 1 year away from a high school instrumental person as well. So we're sorry to see him go, but rest assured, that was my position when I was in the public schools as a teacher in the elementary level. We will replace this position, and we will keep growing as we have. Then we do have one retirement letter, and if I may, I'd like to take a moment to read that. This letter is to inform you of my formal retirement from teaching. My last day will be on Friday, September 30th, 2016. In my 16 years of working with Winthrop Public School System, I've worked under 4 superintendents, 2 pupil personnel directors, and 4 principals. To the present Winthrop Public School Administration, I say thank you. Your jobs are difficult, especially in the changes of the field of education is facing as we move forward. And the issues you face day to day are not easy. Thank you for keeping the Winthrop schools safe, keeping our instructional standards high, and trying to do what is best for our students. As a special education teacher, I've had the wonderful opportunity to work alongside many wonderful teachers, therapists, and ESPs, learning and sharing, and at times commiserating about issues in our profession. Most importantly, I wish to say it has been an honor and privilege to teach the students of the Winthrop Township during my time here. Perhaps my leaving at this particular time may have a silver lining. She puts in Winthrop's budget crunch may now be a tad bit looser. I hope it has helped in some small way. Joyce Sudo. I've only been here, actually, folks, I've started my 6th year here, so I'm excited about that. I think my longevity over the other 4 have beaten them. But Ms. Sudo's daughter, when she graduated a few years ago, went off to Boston University, and of course that's my alma mater, so I was very excited. So we had a lot of that in common. But Ms. Sudo's been working at the Gorman Fort Banks with preschool, kindergarten resource teacher, and she will certainly be missed. We're sorry to see her go. I wish her the best of luck as we move forward, as she moves forward. And I am meeting with her. She did set up a time to meet because she wanted to just discuss her decision as she moved along. And so, in any event, we wish her the best. Postings, we have a part-time office aide that we posted, junior custodian at Winthrop High School, physical education teacher, Winthrop Middle School, part-time office aide, William P. Gorman, special education teacher, Arthur T. Cummings, physics teacher at the Winthrop High School, and then we had some Winthrop High School stipend positions at the Winthrop Middle School. We're trying to make sure that all of those things are posted. There were no leave of absences at this time. One note that I will let you know is, you know that at the last meeting we talked about the fact that we went with option 2, and that was going to reduce a couple of the custodians from the other levels. In my conversation right now, I'm working with one of the after-school providers that we have that will be working with the William P. Gorman School, and we are tentatively coming to an agreement that their usage of that space will restore one of those custodial positions.
Good.
So Mrs. Pearson and I feel that that was a very good agreement to come to, and so we're working on that agreement.
Good.
Now, if we can restore the one at the Cummings, we're working on that, so we're hopeful.
Great. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, under new business is the actual, this is under personnel too, but when you get to that, I'll make sure you
This first one
understand
under
what
new
that
business? Yes, I understand. Okay. So under new business, we have the appointment of Meredith Hurley, the Winthrop High School nurse. And
Yes. Meredith Hurley has been recommended by Mr. Crombie to the position of school nurse, which results from the transition to the new high school effective August 31st, 2016. As your role as a school committee members, there are a few positions you get to approve and hire. One being myself, another being an assistant superintendent, third would be a school business manager, and, believe it or not, school nurses. So I bring to you the recommendation of Meredith Hurley. Mr. Crombie, Meredith Hurley she is the town nurse for the town of Winthrop. Meredith has been the public health nurse since 2014 to present. She's also worked at Children's Hospital in Boston. She has strong analytical skills with the capabilities to implement appropriate solutions to complex problems, and she is very good to be able to talk to and discuss. I think she's a huge asset to our Winthrop High School students, and I couldn't think of anybody better than to recommend to you as the school committee and ask for your approval of Meredith Hurley as our school nurse.
Chair Perrin?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation. I have to say that the town's lost as the school department's gained, having worked with Meredith in the variety of capacities. She's been phenomenal. She's on top of everything, and I couldn't think of a
I'd
better
like to second her.
person.
She's done a tremendous job. She's been very, very active
Very active.
with CASA in various projects throughout the community, and I think it's a perfect fit for the school
Absolutely.
department.
We're lucky to have her.
I agree. You stole my line, but it is a huge loss for the town. And I heard about this from somebody who was texting me a recommendation, and I said, I didn't even know she was applying, but of course, Meredith is the perfect person for the Winthrop High School nurse. And so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, unanimously. So welcome, Mrs. Hurley. Congratulations, and excellent addition to our school staff. Next, we have under new business, the first reading of the Buildings and Grounds Security Policy. This policy was updated recently. I'm going to read it because I think that there was a good reason that it was updated, and just want to clarify for any reason. But Buildings and Grounds Security Policy. Public school buildings and grounds are one of the greatest investments in the town. It is deemed in the best interest of the school department and town to preserve, protect, and enhance all buildings and grounds. Protection from fire hazards, faulty equipment will be expected. Safe practices in the use of electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, and related elements of school buildings and grounds will be required. The Winthrop School Committee will actively cooperate with fire, law enforcement, public health, and other agencies, including insurance company inspectors. Access to school buildings and grounds outside of regular school hours will be limited to personnel whose work requires it. An adequate key control system will be established which limits access to buildings to authorized personnel and will safeguard against the chance of entrance to buildings by unauthorized personnel. Funds and valuable records will be kept in a safe place under lock and key. Protective devices designed to be used as safeguards against illegal entry and vandalism will be installed when appropriate to the individual situation. Employment of watchmen may be approved in situations where special risks are involved. If a security concern presents itself during non-school hours, the superintendent or his or her designee will suspend school until the grounds have been deemed safe and secure by the Winthrop Police Department and or the Winthrop Fire Department, as well as the Buildings and Grounds Manager or his or her designee. So that was the big change, that last paragraph there. So that was the first reading. We don't have to do anything further tonight. We'll read it again at our next meeting. All right, next we have the Ellie Gavoni, sorry, thank you. Tree dedication request from the Winthrop High School Parent Teacher Club Board. There's a letter, which I'll read. Dear Mr. Massaro, as you know, Ellie Gavoni has given her time, talent, and energy to the students of the Winthrop High School by hosting class night event for our seniors for over 30 years. Her love of our community ran deep in her commitment to serving those, and it was honored this year by the Chamber of Commerce as she was voted Woman of the Year. The Winthrop High School Parent Teacher Club would like to also show our appreciation of her dedication to this youth of our town, specifically Winthrop High School, by purchasing a flowering dogwood tree and dedicating it to Ellie. We would be happy to work with Parks and Rec Director Sean Driscoll in regards to having a plaque made with her name on it and a note expressing her unwavering dedication to the students of Winthrop High School. We respectfully request that you make a proposal on our behalf at the school committee in the upcoming July meeting. Ellie's passing left a void in our community. We would like all who knew her to see that although she may no longer be with us, she is in no way forgotten at Winthrop High School. Sincerely, the Winthrop High School 2016 Parent Teacher Board. So we had a discussion a little bit when we were planning the agenda about kind of landscaping at the new school, and Mr. Massaro, you were going to kind of check on
I
like
still
placement.
Right, I will work with Mr. Calla and Mr. O'Donnell on placement of where the tree would go. But we want to make sure it's in an area that is going to be seen, and it's,
Right.
for Ellie. And I will work with the Parent-Teacher Council on that. I think it's a fitting tribute, and I think it's well worth, if you knew Ellie, I only had the opportunity to really know Ellie the last 5 years, but the support and what she did for our students who were moving on into life, and I think that's important. Every year she was there and dedicated her dinners and stuff, and a true friend to Winthrop Public Schools.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead and accept this donation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Capabianco. Is there a discussion on the motion? I would say just pending,
Placement.
placement.
Right.
And Mr. O'Donnell is really the one to help us with that, because he's so great at that thing,
Right.
that kind of stuff. So,
Talk to you soon.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Parent Teachers Club. Happy to support that. Next, under new business, we have a request for the dedication of the Winthrop High School basketball court. Let me see that letter. This is a request to have the Winthrop High School basketball court named after Chris Siotis. And do they mean the basketball court that's at the gym in the Winthrop High School Middle School?
So what the letter here, and speaking to a couple of other folks, and just so that you know that Mr. Siotis has no clue that they've brought him up on this, so I think Christopher would be shocked if he knew this right now, because what I've been told is, and I know Chris, but he's a very humble person on this. But they are looking to name the gymnasium court, the basketball court. That's the new court that's in there. The request here is that it be the Christopher Siotis court.
The letter describes in depth his career, both at high school level and college level, and his accomplishments and his dedication.
And so Mr. Ciotis was also, he not only has been the highest scoring individual of Winthrop High School, over 1,300 points in his 4 years as a basketball player, but he also served, he played at Suffolk. He also got the most points in a game, 53 points in one game, apparently against my alma mater, Saugus. But he did go on to play professional basketball in
Greece.
So he's done multiple things, and but he is a person who's come from the community who has been a landmark in basketball. And there's quite a few people who have sent a letter or emailed and who have talked, and so when I got this letter, I put it in the packet.
Okay. This letter is from Dr. John Earl, Department Chair, University of Richmond.
Correct.
There's been additional emails directed to you?
There's been, I have talked to one individual who's come to see me just to give me background on Chris. But the only correspondence that I have thus far is this correspondence on that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this request for naming the basketball court after Mr. Ciotis?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Capabianco, is there a second? Second by Mr. Vecchia. Any discussion on the motion?
I think you would need a roll call on that to make sure that you,
We've been having roll calls on all the
right.
space dedications, you're right. Ms. Haynes, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Vecchia,
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco,
Yes.
Mr. Perrin,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. Mr. Perrin?
Although I support Mr. Ciotis, obviously with my vote, I think that I'd like to put a motion forward that we put a moratorium on naming all of these rooms just for 1 year, unless there's some extraordinary circumstance that would require it. I just think, every week we have a different room or a different place. And not that that's a bad thing, because there's a lot of people that we should be honoring. But as we move forward, I'd like to just make a motion that we hold off for 1 year for any more namings until the school's got a year under its belt.
Can I ask a question about the motion?
If we I'll
can't.
second the motion, and now we can have discussion.
So
Go ahead.
I agree with you. It is getting a little out of hand with the naming, but in terms of naming the new field and track and that sort of thing, could we do that before we make that motion, or do you want to wait till that facility's built?
It's gonna be over a year before.
I know, but I just don't know if we're going to do that now or we're going to do it then.
So,
That's my
if I may,
question.
speaking on the
Yes.
facility, I should have addressed that earlier. Thank you for bringing that up. The goal right now is that the facility, as soon as the permitting is complete, which it could be completed anytime after August 30th, could be ready for September, whatever. The goal is to start as soon as possible. Therefore, the games of the soccer and the football games that are the home games this year would be placed elsewhere,
Okay.
whether we go to the visiting, we become the visitor or not. And that goal is that if they are able to start September or 1st or October 1st, they're looking to be completed hopefully by June 1st. That's, the whole stadium itself. So, obviously, you've got plenty of time on that. and-
Are we talking about discontinuing Miller Field as Miller Field, is that?
No,
No.
I'm not,
Oh,
No.
no.
I'm just.
I want to name the track.
Well,
Okay, let's stick to what we've got on the
I mean,
table here.
it's gonna be
I
over a
think-
year.
I think Brian's motion is in order. And I think as far as the new stadium and the updated Millis Field, that's going to be still 10 months away, 11 months away, 12 months away, whatever. I think when that time comes is the time for us to
Talk about
consider,
Okay.
renaming.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. Do I have to take back my second first?
No, you've seconded so
So-
that you could discuss. Now
Okay.
you can make an amendment.
Could we agree on a 6-month moratorium and then revisit it in February to continue or not?
I just think the year gives us a year under our belt for the school, gives us time to really reevaluate. I don't like seeing these things firsthand. I mean, the embarrassing part of it is, if we didn't all know how great Chris Ciotis was, for example, and how much he's done for our community, and we voted them down. I mean, how embarrassing is that it comes up in a public meeting? for the first time, you know, without really having a chance to investigate it. Because believe me, he's the most deserving person I know. I've worked with him professionally, and I know him personally. But I'm saying something like that could be very embarrassing to someone if, God forbid, the vote didn't occur for whatever reason. So I just think a year gives us a year to even to look at sending back to policy how we're going to address these as they come forward. And I think it puts a year under the belt of the students, because this is all about the students. It's not about dedicating to individuals. It's about the students. It's about that school. It's a showplace. But I think we're getting into naming floors. We're getting into naming, you know, doors, teachers' rooms. It's just getting to be like an every week occurrence, and you know, it's distracting from the big picture, which is we've got a showplace for a school here. It's for the kids. You know, I just want some time to absorb it, and I'd like to see it go back to this policy committee so that we're not seeing these for the first time when we're voting or when they come in our package and they're on the agenda. You know.
I'm fine.
The policy was just revised recently to sort of accommodate that we knew that we would be getting things in anyway. The only thing I would disagree with is the length of time, but I think that it sounds like we'll have it's in your favor, so why don't we call it roll? Is there any more discussion on the motion?
Mr. Vecchia?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
No, only because I just disagree with the length of time.
Unless there's extraordinary circumstances or something comes up.
Okay. we can always vote again.
Right.
Well, you can always vote to
Change it.
waive it
Exactly. So
at that
it's not-
time.
At that
So,
time, yeah.
But I mean, just the general
Getting out of hand.
right.
submissions for you.
But let's get the other project built first. I agree with you.
Well, I just want to ask the question.
Unless you're going to name it after me, then I want to move forward right now.
I do think, there are questions in the community regarding to how Millerfield will proceed, since there was a overwhelmingly yes vote to have another debt exclusion and go back to the table. So if you wouldn't mind, you want to take a minute to talk about whether the SBAC is going to
Yes,
continue,
so-
who's going to oversee the project?
So the School Building Assistance Committee looks to continue on to oversee this project, which I'm very pleased about. Because I believe that the School Building Assistance Committee has done a wonderful job of being the oversight to managing the funds and how this is all going to work, and making sure that we've dotted our i's and crossed our t's at every place you can do. So we're currently working on that plan to move forward in that direction, which would mean, if that's the case, then we would be utilizing the same folks that have built our current school. But I just want to, before I confirm that, I want to make sure that that's been confirmed. But that's the game plan. I mean, Gilbane's here, they've been working, they've done a wonderful job, and we'd like to see that continue on. And so we've been working with MSBA and the Attorney General's office to make sure that our ducks are correct in a row, that we know where we're at.
Mr. Perrin?
I'd really like to bring that committee in to thank them
Yes.
for all that they did, the dedication that went into planning, overseeing, and meeting. I haven't been to a lot of meetings as of late, but in the early parts of this, it is a huge undertaking to sit in and oversee this. And the amount of time they did it, and to be willing to go forward for the Miller Field upgrades. God bless them. So I'd love to have them come in at some point to be recognized for their
Yeah,
efforts.
we should give them some accommodation. I agree. I think
Be
it was a
wonderful.
tremendous commitment and time and skill to
And-
volunteer, really. They were just a group of volunteers.
The question was asked by the town manager to all of the committee members, would you like to continue on working on this? And it was overwhelmingly, everybody was yes, 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 yes. Because there's a pride on what has been accomplished, and there's no more people excited than that committee of the work that they did towards the new middle school, high school, and then to have that vote to approve the stadium. It gives you a sense of, okay, we're doing
It was
the right
almost like
thing.
an
Let's keep-
endorsement of their
Yes, so
work.
let's keep going and
Exactly.
let's working. And so I agree with you, Mr. Perrin. I mean, that has been one of the my best experiences of ever working on a committee has been that, working with
Oh,
that
they're
committee.
pros.
And what's
They're
interesting
pros.
about that is that 5 years ago, when I came on board and we met, there was 7 people on the committee, and we said, oh, we're gonna expand that committee. And many people said, you're crazy to expand that committee. You're gonna have 21 people, it's gonna be great, you'll never get anything support, you know. And it was the opposite, because we had individuals on that committee who are professionals in this business as well, and who understood how the committees needed to move, and all had the same drive to make this project successful, and also to support what the taxpayers wanted. So,
When I attended my first meeting, there were about 21 people in the room, and I was surprised. But they've done a tremendous job, and
yes.
you kind of look at it as a school committee where there's subcommittees.
Right.
There's several subcommittees, and they work so hard, and everybody gets along. They work very well. There's a great mix of professional, whether it's an
Yes.
architect or people in business or people, you know, in finance. Really, they do a great job.
And we had our
Very,
moments.
very impressed.
But we were all respectful of those moments, and we went, and we'd go to battle on certain things, but it worked out well.
And look where it ended up, just
Right.
walking through that tour and seeing, a showplace. It really
Right.
is.
One of the things that I would like to let you know of now, and I will remind so we can get in the minutes, on the first day of school, September 6th for students, that's a Tuesday, I hope, if I tell you now, I would love for you to plan that morning to be available. One of the things that we want to do is we're going to take a picture of the whole middle school staff and students with the school committee and the school building assistance committee to be a part of that picture. And then the same with and the town council, and the same with the high school. And then those 2 pictures will be permanently placed in the school to be there forever. So that will be on the 6th of September. So we'd love for you to attend.
Mr. Becker, are you available to continue on that committee as a school committee representative?
Absolutely.
Thank you. We'd love to hear reports of the progress as you have reports to give.
Okay.
And so we're just back to the Winthrop Middle School, High School handbook, which we already took
You
care
already
of
approved those,
earlier,
yeah.
correct? Unfinished business, we have the coach.
Sorry, can I quickly bring something up on the new business?
Sure. Something that's not on the agenda, Mr. Kavanaugh?
No, I just wanted to, so I just wanted to bring this up quick. I sent an email a few weeks ago in regards to a resolution I'm working on against lifting the cap in charter schools. Over 60 other school committees have supported a similar resolution, and I would just like to see that on a school committee agenda in the next few weeks.
Knowing that we had a full agenda tonight, I pushed it, and we can certainly have it on August 3rd if Patty can put that on for us. That would be absolutely fine with me. If you want to send Ms. Hames an email previously to put in the packet for us so people can take a look. Under unfinished business, we have the coach's handbook and the athletic handbook that I know Mr. Serino is anxious to get approved by us. So I would like to plan an athletic subcommittee that I will chair. Monday, the 25th at 4 p.m., if that works for Mr. Vecchio and Mr. Cavibianco. And if that works for Mr. Serino, most importantly.
Because we do need to get this approved.
Because we need to get it moving. I think that he's going to want to meet with coaches and teams in August.
August 16th is when football begins, and then 5 days later is when the rest of the season.
So
Did
we'd
you
like
say-
to.
Did you say Monday?
Yeah, does that work?
Okay.
Monday at 4 p.m.?
Yep.
We'd like to get this back to our August 3rd general school committee meeting and approved and discussed and approved, hopefully,
Right.
so that Mr. Serino can move forward.
Yes.
I think that it's important to have a good look at how all of our coaches and teams and parents are working together at really supporting sportsmanship on our teams and all around. And I would like to have part of that as a discussion on the agenda for Monday, as well as the coaches and athletes handbooks. Is there any, back down to public comment? Any public comment tonight? No? Public relations? Mr. Vecchia, can we start with you?
Yeah, I'll just bring up a little thing that's gonna happen in August. Nationally, they have a Fed Up rally. It's regarding the federal response to the opioid crisis. And locally in Winthrop, they're gonna be holding a ceremony at the town hall lawn on August 31st. If anybody's interested, it's all being planned by CASA, and they're looking for people to attend. There'll be guest speakers. The Speaker of the House will be there. I understand the Senator will be there. Countless others. I guess the school committee will be invited officially, members of the school committee, as well as town council. But it's a good opportunity for people to hear what's going on, and CASA's been very, very active. If you have any questions or want to get involved, you can call Linda Vecchia, 617-276-2544. She's chairing it along with Kathleen Duffy. That's it.
Great.
Just-
Mr. Capabianco?
Real quick, Mia Martucci, a 12-year-old student from Winthrop Public Schools, has been raising money for Boston Children's Hospital since she was 5 years old. Her lemonade stand has raised over $13,000. She had a trivia night this past weekend that raised about $3,000. Take a look at the group Facebook page. You can still make a donation. I think that's amazing that a 12-year-old girl has raised over $13,000 for such a wonderful organization. Lastly, I attended the Viking Pride event, gave some tours. I thought it was a great event, and we should commend the Viking Pride Foundation once again for having another excellent event, and that the community can be really proud of that organization.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
I have nothing.
I'd like to just remind people about the summer food service program. Is available to any child, regardless of income or anything. There's a free summer meal program provided at 9 a.m. and ending at 10 a.m. Lunch is 12 p.m. ending at 1 p.m. Starting on July 5th. So that's already started running through August 12th. So any child can feel comfortable coming in to the high school to have a meal during those times. There's something in our packet about the teen programs for the Winthrop Public Library. This is a nice, for the Winthrop Public Library, they're offering yoga for teens with Kathleen Duffy, who's awesome. Yoga on July 12th, July 13th, essential oils with Ann Kelty on July 19th, and yoga with Don Armistead on July 26th. So check out the Winthrop Public Library. And then there's the summer reading room and the Lego Club. The library committee has done a great job of offering arts and crafts and story time and Lego Club and lots of events for kids that 1 or 2 years ago we didn't have so much of. So that's awesome that they're doing that. And I think that's it for me, Mr. Massaro.
Madam Chair, just in regards to the motion that you may bring forward, Mr. Capabianco, it was recommended last week at our meeting that we just make sure that legal sees it so that we're,
Okay.
as a group, you're okay with what you approve and disapprove and all of that stuff. So I would ask that we...
There's not a rush on it. Last time you and I spoke, right? So,
Well, there wasn't a rush 2 months ago, but now there's
Right.
sort of a rush.
but like the fall.
Like to have it done by then. And
Okay.
we're not the first two, like I said, over 60 other school committees have
Right,
passed similar
right. I
resolutions.
just wanted to protect under the
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
public rights and all that. School committees can do what they want to do, though. I did find that out.
Yep.
You guys have the ability to approve however you want to. So.
Okay, cool. All right. Is there anything else? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Vecchia, second by Mr. Capabianco. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.